When Trump said, "I will impose global tariffs," the whole world heard the echo. And of course, Europe couldn't sit still. China went crazy while the US played the boss in this tariff game. But in the end, who will be the loser? The EU, the most stubborn when facing Trump, ultimately turned around like a boat drifting in the storm. At first, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, called for global resistance to Trump's tariff strategy, even claiming the global economy would collapse. We are already finalizing the first package of countermeasures in response to tariffs on steel, and we're now preparing for further countermeasures to protect our interests and our businesses if negotiations fail. But then, just a few days later, the EU surprised everyone by making a complete turnaround. Ursula announced, "We are ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal." What seemed like a roadblock turned the EU into the loser in this tariff game. And you can imagine at that moment, everyone in Brussels was probably thinking spending another $3 trillion is nothing compared to continuing to argue with Trump. But no worries, because Trump still wins, whether the EU wants to sit at the negotiation table or not. China is no pushover. While the EU chose to flip-flop, China went crazy and refused to lose. Trump demanded China remove the 34% retaliatory tariffs, but the answer from Beijing was, "No way." China didn't back down. Instead, they escalated by imposing another 34% tariff, restricting the export of rare earth materials, and placing restrictions on about 30 US organizations, mostly in defense-related industries, adding to the 24 US companies already targeted by Trump's tariffs. It's clear they're betting on an all-out war. Trump, as always, didn't give up. He even threatened further, "If you don't remove the tariffs, I'll impose 50% more, or even 104%. Who knows?" In the end, this tariff battle became like a boxing match between two giants, with both sides throwing hard hits. Raising tariffs could kill the global economy, but China had no choice but to respond strongly. Canada might stay silent, but don't let them. They hold the ace card of crude oil. Prime Minister Danielle Smith declared they could sign deals with European and Indian refineries. "We could actually redirect those purchases somewhere else, and that would solve our trade deficit. If necessary, Canada could easily redirect its oil exports to Europe instead of supplying the US. Canada currently supplies about 4 million barrels of oil per day to the US, with 700,000 barrels being exported to the Gulf Coast. But this is the number Trump needs to pay attention to, because if Canada turns its back, the US will face a crude oil shortage. So, can the US easily replace Canada's oil? The answer is not that simple. US refineries will have to bear a massive change, and Canada could truly shock the global energy market if it redirects its exports. Fuel retail experts say this price hike will soon hit gas stations in New England, potentially adding an extra 20 to 40 cents per gallon. Now we have to ask the question, what do US industries think when this tariff war explodes? Do the big car manufacturers like BMW, Audi, and Mercedes now get discounts? The answer is no. They're dropping bombs over the high tariffs, and American workers are the ones paying the heaviest price. US companies now have two options: close down or cut production. But no matter the choice, the workers will bear the consequences. Even the US technology sector is in trouble. Silicon Valley companies have lost millions of dollars as they can't export to the Chinese market, one of their largest. Trump is becoming the destroyer of what has been built over decades. Now, a difficult but important question. Does Trump understand that his strategy could collapse the US economy if he's not careful? 62% of workers in industrial states are crying over Trump's tariffs. And it's not just big corporations. Farmers are also speaking out against it. I don't know where it ends. I hope I hope it ends soon. I hope it ends with, us. Is willing to be good partners with the countries around the world and be willing to sit down at the table. If this trade war continues, it's not just workers but farmers too who will bear the brunt of the damage. Not to mention, the entire US economy could collapse without timely adjustments. Don't change the channel, because this tariff strategy might turn Trump into the winner, while all of us are the losers. Can you ever imagine that Canada, the land of maple syrup and polite apologies, would actually say, nope, to the US when it comes to oil exports? Sounds like something out of a Hollywood blockbuster, not real life. But this could totally happen. First, here's a tough pill to swallow, kind of like raw Alberta beef. 60% of the oil the US imports comes from Canada. To be exact, that's 4 million barrels a day. It's like the US is blood-sucking, oops, we mean oil-sipping, from Canada every morning like it's a cup of coffee. So why Canada? Because the kind of oil they produce is heavy, like a Trump speech. And it just so happens to be a perfect match for the refineries along the US Gulf Coast. But here's the twist. Canada is getting tired of playing the quiet, loyal lover. They're now eyeing Europe with a look that says, oh hello. Hey, you look like you need some oil. Through potentially deboning of pipelines, through the potential to accelerate LNG development in a couple of different areas, but always in the frame that Europe puts it in, which is, it has to fit within the frame of the fact that we're not just facing an energy security crisis. We still are facing a climate crisis. Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, is front and center in this oil-fueled showdown, and she's not beating around the bush. If the US plays hard, we'll start pumping oil to Europe. Let's see how long they last without us. Smells like a political telenovela, right? Right now, Alberta sends 700,000 barrels a day down to the Gulf Coast. It's basically pouring Red Bull straight into the US refining system. But if that flow gets cut, game over. Texas might have to chug energy drinks from Venezuela, and let's be real, everyone knows fake stuff hits different, and not in a good way. The US loves to say, we're energy independent, we're fine. But just like that ex who keeps checking their old flame story every day, the US still secretly needs Canada's oil. If Canada pulls back, gas prices in New England could jump like housing prices in San Francisco. We're talking 20 to 40 cents more per gallon. And don't forget electricity. Canada is also a giant charging station for the US, sending over 11,000 gigawatt-hours of power every year. Can the US replace that? Sure. By waiting for shipments from Venezuela, the Middle East, or hoping Elon Musk figures out how to make electricity from the human brain. This isn't just about oil. It's a full-blown tit-for-tat between Trump and the Canadian government. Trump brought back tariffs on steel, dairy, and cars. Canada hit back with a classic, okay, just wait. We'll target your ethanol. Now, ethanol, produced in the US as much as memes about Trump, is a lifeline for American farmers, and Canada has been buying it up like crazy to fuel its clean energy programs. But if Canada pulls the plug, farmers in Iowa might actually lose it. Meanwhile, Europe, like a freshly single ex just dumped by Russia, is desperately looking for a new energy source. And then Canada shows up like a gentleman, bringing CEDA and a few million barrels of oil. In March 2025 alone, Canada exported 8 million barrels to the EU, double the previous quarter. The EU might be the new lover, but is this true love, or just a rebound after breaking up with Putin? Canada is going through a serious glow-up, from the sweet girl next door to a major player in the global energy game. And it's not just about oil. We're talking about uranium for clean nuclear reactors, rare minerals for electric vehicles, and clean electricity to charge the entire US grid. With this kind of energy combo, Canada isn't just selling fuel, it's selling influence. In a post-fossil fuel world, Canada could be the Switzerland of energy, neutral, but absolutely essential. So what do you think? If Canada really shifts its strategy, will the US come crawling back or go looking for a third party like Venezuela? Better hold on to that gas pump, because this energy storm is just getting started. What a great day when you just became the White House spokesperson and shocked the whole world. Surely, no one wants to become the center of every debate, like Caroline Leavitt, right? She became the spotlight just because of some slightly wrong, slightly strange, and very funny comments. So, you're the White House spokesperson, and suddenly a French legislator says the Statue of Liberty should be returned to France. Let's make sure we never ever let the Trump and Musk fan club into our country. Give us back the Statue of Liberty. We gave it to you as a gift, but apparently you despise it. What would you do? Try to explain. No, you'd immediately hit back. And that's exactly what Caroline Leavitt did when she said, just because of the United States, the French aren't speaking German today. Absolutely not. And, my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind him that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country. And here's where things get funny. The online community quickly fired back. Actually, France helped the US win independence in the Revolutionary War. But no, what did Caroline say? It's okay. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we helped you not speak German. Clearly, she forgot that without France, we might have been speaking German for a long time. And another failed diplomatic attack was born. After such a diplomatic punch, she didn't stop there. Next, Leavitt continued to make waves when she declared, "This ban is completely unconstitutional. It's entirely unconstitutional, and it is, for anybody who has a basic understanding of the law. You cannot have a low-level district court judge filing an injunction to usurp the executive authority of the President of the United States." So what would you say when the White House spokesperson doesn't understand the US Constitution? That's when a judge can block the president's actions if they violate the Constitution. But don't worry, Caroline thinks differently. She wants to reteach the entire system of checks and balances in the US. Quite the legal lesson that she'll definitely need to relearn. And just when you think things will settle down, Caroline keeps going. The Trump administration wants the Department of Justice to focus on law and order, want to restore the Department of Justice to an institution that focuses on fighting law and order. Looks like she's confusing everyone, right? The Department of Justice is supposed to protect the rule of law, not fight against it. Caroline definitely had a big and strange speech blunder. But don't worry, she's still trying her best. After finishing her special mistake, Caroline made a statement that had Fox News laughing. She claimed that all the automakers in the US support Trump's tariffs. But exemption for Canada and Mexico, and extending tariffs to auto parts with steel and aluminum, will add significant costs for automakers, suppliers, and consumers. You know, steel and aluminum tariffs obviously could have a big impact. Is it time for the president to do an Oval Office address, maybe, and try to explain to people that it might be bad for a little while, but it is in fact worth it? I think the president has been incredibly clear, Jackie, on where he stands and what he envisions for the future of America. Immediately, Fox News didn't stay quiet. They quoted a statement from the American Automotive Policy Council saying that the tariffs were driving up costs for the auto industry, making things even harder. And Caroline's response? She blinked several times. Looks like she realized she just stepped into a battle with no way out. All these continuous mistakes turned Caroline Leavitt into the face of unpreparedness. Political commentators called her ignorant, overwhelmed, and blindly loyal to Trump. And even though she made several statements, she still didn't learn any lesson. Could this be a serious lack of confidence, or simply someone who doesn't have enough knowledge to speak on such complex issues? Recently, Donald Trump shocked the world by announcing a 25% tariff on imported cars, with Japan as the #1 target. But instead of backing down, Tokyo has not only responded, they've openly declared war. Trump said, "Japan, we have an interesting deal with Japan that we have to protect them, but they don't have to protect us. Do you know that that's the way the deal reads? We have to protect Japan. And by the way, they make a fortune with us economically. There's another case, but we have to protect Japan. But under no circumstances do they have to protect us. I actually ask, who makes these deals?" In response, Japan's government issued a sharp statement. "Every option is on the table. If the US harms us, we will retaliate accordingly." These warnings are not just a trade response, they're a strong message about the unacceptable nature of America's policies. Japanese news broadcasts are no longer speaking in the friendly tone they once did. They are now calling for Japan to break free from its dependence on the US. Japan has made a strong decision. It needs a more independent foreign policy and is ready to build new economic alliances, not just with the US, but with other powerhouses like the EU and Canada. If America's policies don't change, Japan could force the US to endure serious consequences, both economically and militarily. Over 1 million Americans work for Japanese companies, mostly in manufacturing, a crucial industry in the Midwest. Japan is not only a major trade partner, but also the #1 direct investor in the US for the past 4 years. But now, if these economic ties are broken, the consequences will not only be job losses but a significant decline in strategic cooperation between the two countries. But that's not all. Japan is also making strong moves in the defense sector. Both Japan's economy and military are changing as Tokyo increases its defense budget and boosts investment in military technology. This won't just cost American defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, but it could also lead Japan to shift its military partnerships. Japan may not only keep key defense contracts, but could begin renegotiating weapons deals with European countries, like France, Germany, and Sweden, rather than continuing to buy from the US. The consequence of this is that the US would not only lose orders, but also its strategic influence in the Pacific, one of the most crucial regions for national security. If Japan decides to cut back on defense cooperation, the US will not only lose thousands of jobs in the defense industry, but also weaken its military power in Asia, where it is currently in a standoff with China. Japan has become America's largest shield in the region. And if that support is lost, the US will face a full-blown strategic crisis. A shift in Japan's defense partnerships won't just affect the US economy. It could spark a wave of change in the foreign policies of other nations. If Japan, a longtime ally of the US, turns away, other countries may reconsider their relationships with America, leading to a weakening of global military alliances. This could open a new era of multilateral alliances, where countries seek cooperation and security from sources outside the US. If this situation continues, America will face a major challenge in maintaining its global leadership role and strategic strength in key regions. As you've seen in this episode, Japan is pushing back hard against Trump. To better understand these rising tensions, let's rewind to the last episode. It's a lot of great people. Lots of great people on both sides. Excuse me, fake reviews. Fake reviews. Fake review. They tried to give me the virus. I beat the virus. Recently, Jamie Foxx caused an internet storm with his impression of Donald Trump. Everyone says it's even better than the original. The voice, the gestures, that characteristic frown, everything was spot on. So frighteningly accurate, you had to stop and say, "This is Trump." The crowd went wild. Even the hosts couldn't hold it together. It's no surprise no one could keep a straight face in front of Fox's flawless accuracy. Lot of great people. I love London. London falling down. I love, yeah. Well, I just gotta tell you that, You better, 'cause I also do another impression. Jamie Foxx, the greatest fox in the world, is a great guy. Yes. Do you have the yell? You gotta get the, yeah. They tried to give me the virus. I beat the virus. They tried to give me people. She just turns into people. He just turns into people. So good. I love her. She's African. I love her hair. Can we? She's African. I love his sweat. He's got a great sweater. Excuse me. Excuse me. Social media exploded. Twitter went wild. TikTok struggled to keep up. Facebook might have been ready to crash. Comparison videos of Fox Trump versus Trump flooded YouTube. People joked that Fox should replace Trump at his rallies. Memes sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Fox on a golden escalator. Fox doing commentary with Big Macs. Even a match between Fox Trump and the real Trump. The internet devoured it all. Meanwhile, Trump was still fumbling, trying to figure out what to do next. You know, honestly, let's not get political, but Jamie Foxx did the worst impression of me that I've ever heard. A terrible Trump. It wasn't that bad. It was so bad. A lot of times people say it's bad, but it was actually the best impersonation of me I've ever done, of me. And I wasn't even there. Jamie, they're saying Ray could have actually seen how bad it was. Stevie Wonder said it was amazing. So do you believe the blind guy, or the other guy? He's a nasty lot of great people. He's a nasty, pathetic. Trump couldn't stay quiet. He jumped in to defend his ego the only way he knows how. Angry tweets. First, he called Fox a low-energy actor. Yes, from the guy who calls golf a sport. Then he accidentally called the whole thing fake news, because clearly such a spot-on impression must be part of a media conspiracy. And the best part, he still couldn't spell Jamie Foxx correctly. That's right, Jamie Foxx. Trump didn't just erase the name. He created a whole internet storm in the process. People, lots of great people. I did it again. He ran back on y'all, didn't he? Thanks people. I like the people. So, the next question. Has Trump actually seen the impression? And if so, how furious did he get? If there's one thing Trump can't resist, it's negative attention on social media. His tweets turned into shockwaves, one after another. Of course, he blamed it all on fake news, unable to handle the precision of Fox's performance. But every time Trump tweeted, Fox's icon only grew. The angrier Trump got, the more the internet celebrated. There's a lot of great people on both sides. I know Harry. He's a great person. He couldn't vote for me at the time. Now he can, once he gets out. I love Snoop Dogg. Great person. Do you love Death Row Records? I love death. I love, excuse me, fake news. I love death. Even though Fox had nailed Trump's style, Trump still dove into every issue just to boost his own ego. While Fox was perfecting the impression, Trump was ranting about great people and Snoop Dogg. He couldn't resist turning every criticism into an opportunity to talk about himself. Honestly, Mr. President, the stage is already taken. Jamie Foxx just turned Donald Trump into the biggest talking point of his own presidency. And Trump, he couldn't rise to the occasion. While Fox perfected the parody, Trump kept tweeting, and the internet won. Again, now, the larger question. Will a Liberation Day, through global tariffs, free America? Or will it drag the economy into a crisis? Resistance is mounting, from none other than Canada. A warning from Ottawa. Canada won't stay silent. Canadians need a fighter. A strong message echoed across the border, grabbing Washington's attention. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England and a leading candidate for Prime Minister of Canada, made it clear he will reject any attempts to weaken Canada. He emphasized that a country's economy is only strong when it serves its people. And too many Canadians were being left behind, even before Trump's tariffs. Carney revealed he had directly spoken to President Trump, telling him, "I will reject all attempts to weaken Canada. All attempts to wear us down so America can own." So what makes global tariffs a high-risk gamble? In just 2 months, the US president has doubled the number of imported goods under tariffs, pushing the total to over $1 trillion. But what's coming is even bigger. A proposed universal 20% tariff on all countries exporting to the US. That's over $3 trillion worth of goods. With scale comes risk. Analysts at Moody's warn, if countries retaliate, the US could face a severe economic scenario, a loss of 5.5 million jobs, unemployment rising to 7%, and a sharp GDP decline. Goldman Sachs raised the probability of a recession to 35%, up from 20%. And the trend is only accelerating. The most troubling part, this isn't due to a global crisis. This is the direct result of domestic policy, from the White House. The backlash isn't just from Canada. In Europe, the president of the European Commission made it clear, we have everything we need to protect our people. We have the largest single market in the world. We have the strength to negotiate. We have the power to push back. Canada, too, is no longer just warning. Mark Carney is calling to protect domestic workers and restructure the economy to stop depending on US policy. Meanwhile, US markets are shaking. The S&P 500 just had its worst quarter since 2022. Corporations are paralyzed by uncertainty. One production director in Texas shared, after over 50 years in business, I've never seen a market this unstable. And the chaos isn't just external. Inside the White House, less than 24 hours before a major policy speech, the president hadn't made a final decision. Advisors are torn between options: global tariffs, reciprocal tax models, or targeting economic blocs like the EU. A 20% tariff over 10 years could raise up to $6 trillion. But that's only if there's no retaliation, something experts call inevitable. Goldman Sachs lowered GDP growth forecasts, warned of rising inflation and a looming recession. This isn't just a trade policy. It's a storm of instability shaking the world economy. And when a policy called liberation throws the whole economy into chaos, who is truly bound? Donald Trump has pushed us to the point where Americans can't even agree on the weather. What a ridiculous time to be alive. Has anyone considered just unplugging America and plugging it back in again? Because if anything, we need to get back to a place where people understand that a vote isn't your entire identity. Voting Republican doesn't make you stupid or worthless. I could break bread with anybody who voted for Trump. But that didn't stop late-night TV from lighting up like a bonfire. Kerry and Kimmel didn't just roast Donald and Melania. They threw a national barbecue. This wasn't just satire. This was a sacred burn. Kerry, like a Looney Tunes character, turned every joke into a surreal masterpiece. Kimmel sliced through Trump's ego smoother than butter in a microwave. Together, they delivered a spiritual knockout punch so hard even MAGA fans had to hide under the table. And yet, when the cameras are rolling, they love everything he says. We're going to conquer the frontiers of science. We're going to plant the American flag on Mars, and far beyond. That's right, and that's when Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel teamed up for the ultimate WWE satire match. Instead of chokeholds, laughter. Instead of punches, precision roasts. Carrey sketched Trump's portrait using only his face and a few manic laughs. Kimmel casually roasted the Trump family like Thanksgiving chicken. Crispy, perfectly cooked, no sauce needed. Even Melania wasn't spared. Kimmel quipped about her robotic presence, leaving the audience whispering, does she even want to be here? Maybe she's dreaming of a one-way ticket back to Slovenia, behind those sunglasses larger than Trump's second-term dreams. Kimmel imagined her launching a new campaign, not to teach kids to be best, but to ban her husband from tweeting at 3 a.m. Finally, a campaign America could actually support. In the end, Carrey and Kimmel didn't need to exaggerate. They just held up a mirror and let Trump do the rest. We used to laugh with him. Now, the world is laughing at him.